All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to explore the absolutely astonishing timeline of how open source AI models finally caught up to the massive tech giants. For years, the artificial intelligence industry just operated under this fundamental assumption. The companies with the biggest budgets and the most sprawling data centers would always, without fail, hold a monopoly on the smartest AI. But as we're about to see, a single release in the summer of 2026 flipped that entire script completely upside down. We're going to track exactly how the open weights community, where models are just freely available for anyone to download and use, managed to erase what seemed like an insurmountable capability gap.
To really grasp the scale of this revolution, you've got to look at this staggering number, 753 billion. In the AI world, parameters are basically the synthetic neurons of a model, right? They represent its sheer capacity for knowledge, reasoning, and pattern recognition. Not too long ago, building a model with hundreds of billions of parameters was a feat entirely reserved for trillion-dollar tech conglomerates. But this number right here, this represents a massive turning point in open access computing.
That massive 753 billion figure belongs to the Z.ai GLM 5.2 open weights model. When this hit the scene in June 2026, it literally shifted the entire balance of power in the tech world. It wasn't just a big model, it was a frontier-level model that absolutely anyone, from a couple of kids in a dorm room startup to a massive established enterprise, could just download and start building upon.
Section 1. The GLM 5.2 Breakthrough. This perfectly illustrates why GLM-5.2 is such a massive game changer. So it was released on June 16th by the Chinese AI lab Z.ai, and it dropped with an MIT open source license. If you know about software licenses, you know that's one of the most permissive ones out there, meaning you can use it commercially with almost zero restrictions. Plus, it features a massive 1 million token context window. To put that into perspective, you can feed it entire libraries of code, multiple thick books, or days' worth of financial transcripts all at once, and it won't lose track of the conversation at all. And the absolute crowning achievement? It hit a record score of 51 on the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, which officially surpassed the most advanced proprietary models of its time. It gave the world frontier-level capabilities and a massive memory for absolutely free.
Section 2. The Perpetual Catch-up.
Now, to really appreciate this victory, we have to remember the whole David versus Goliath dynamic that has defined this industry. Historically, open-source models were always the underdog. Take a look at this quote from a comprehensive review by Nathan Lambert over at Z.ai, published earlier in 2026. He pointed out that open weights models remained in a state of perpetual catch-up, maintaining a pretty steady 6-month performance gap right behind closed models from giants like OpenAI and Anthropic. Basically, every single time the open community released something great, the closed labs would drop a new ridiculously expensive flagship model, and boom, the gap would widen all over again.
And this capability gap wasn't just some niche technical curiosity, it actually sparked a massive industry-wide debate. When Anthropic released Claude Mythos, a highly capable closed model specifically designed for cybersecurity and spotting software vulnerabilities, the debate over open weights just completely ignited. On one side, proponents argued that open models democratize tech, prevent monopolies, and allow for crucial independent security assessments. But on the flip side, critics argued that our digital infrastructure simply wasn't prepared for an open-weight version of something as powerful as Mythos, fearing bad actors could exploit unrestricted models. Now, we aren't here to take sides on this debate today. Both sides have incredibly valid points, but understanding this tension is vital to understanding the exact environment GLM 5.2 was born into.
Section 3. Rise of Chinese AI labs. So the velocity of this open weights movement accelerated at a dizzying pace over a mere 6 months, driven largely by these relentless releases coming out of Chinese AI labs. In December 2025, we got DeepSeek v3.2. Then, by February 2026, Qwen 3.5 dropped. Fast forward to June 2026, and we get a crazy 1-2 punch, Minimax M3, and then, the ultimate culmination, GLM 5.2. This wasn't some slow, gradual evolution, folks. It was a rapid, cascading series of major breakthroughs.
And every single one of these iterations brought something entirely new to the table. DeepSeek v3.2, it proved that open models could match proprietary ones in rigorous gold medal level math performance. Qwen 3.5 proved they could be truly global, launching with native support for an incredible 201 languages. Then Minimax M3 stepped up as the very first open-weight model to seamlessly combine frontier coding, agentic capabilities, and native multimodality, meaning it understood images and video right from step 0. And Z.ai, they were moving so fast they pushed major iterations from GLM 4.7 straight to GLM 5.2 in less than half a year. This was a full-blown technological arms race that made open models increasingly powerful, incredibly versatile, and frankly impossible to ignore.
Section 4. Inside the Mo architecture.
Now you might be wondering, how exactly do you run a 753 billion parameter model without needing a billion-dollar data center? Well, the secret weapon of this whole revolution was the widespread adoption of mixture of experts, or Mo architecture. Think of Mo kind of like a massive world-class university. The university has thousands of brilliant professors. Those are your hundreds of billions of total parameters. But if you have a question specifically about quantum physics, you don't go and ask the entire faculty at once, right? You just ask the physics expert. Mo works exactly the same way. The model dynamically activates only a tiny fraction of its parameters, say just 40 billion out of 750 billion for any single query. This drastically slashes computing costs and boosts speed, basically giving you the massive intelligence of a giant model with the lean energy efficiency of a much smaller one.
And what's really interesting here is looking at the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index leaderboard, making GLM 5.2's ultimate victory visually obvious. You can see it sitting comfortably at rank number 1 with that impressive score of 51, heavily driven by its 753 billion parameter MOE architecture. But look closely at the fierce competition just beneath it: Minimax M3, DeepSeek V4 Pro, Moonshot Kimi K2.6. Every single one of these is a highly advanced, massively capable open model featuring things like hybrid attention and native multimodality. GLM 5.2 didn't just beat the closed models, it had to fight its way to the top of the most intensely competitive open weights ecosystem in history.
Section 5. AI becomes a commodity.
This open-weight revolution leads us to a pretty profound realization for the tech industry and, honestly, for your daily life. We now have this incredible technology that is practically free and available to everyone. Because models like GLM 5.2 are so incredibly capable, the fundamental building blocks of AI are becoming, well, they're becoming like electricity. Tech analyst Jeff Su really hit the nail on the head with this quote. When things get cheaper and more similar, they become more like commodities. You don't ask who provides the best electricity, right? You ask what can I use the electricity for? Think about what that actually means for us. We are rapidly transitioning from an era where the AI model itself was the end product to an era where the model is just the invisible utility powering everything else.
Because of this, the real competition is no longer about who builds the smartest underlying model. That race is stabilizing. The true frontier right now, it's the application layer. It's all about who can build the most useful, creative, and seamless software on top of this free open intelligence. Startups and developers don't have to spend millions training a foundational model anymore. They can just download GLM 5.2 and pour all their time and money into designing an absolutely incredible user experience.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway of this explainer. With the barrier to entry entirely erased by the open weights revolution and absolute powerhouse models like GLM 5.2, the technology isn't the bottleneck anymore. The bottleneck is human imagination. So I want to leave you with this one question to think about. When frontier artificial intelligence is practically free, what will you build with it? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer today, and keep exploring.